Brooklyn, September 30th, 1993. Around 8:30 in the morning, two masked men force their way into a Chase Manhattan branch, tripping the alarm on the way in. 3 people are trapped inside, 2 tellers and a 60-year-old security guard. The robbers pistol whip the guard, drag him into the men's room, and lock the door. One of the tellers gets the same treatment. Then one of the robbers puts the barrel of his gun into the second teller's mouth and pulls the trigger. Empty chamber. He makes it clear the next one won't be, and orders her to open the vault. The command post goes up almost directly across the street, and working it that morning is an FBI agent on his first real hostage negotiation. Full stop. He'd trained for this for a year and a half. He'd never actually done it. By his own later admission, he wasn't good at it yet. Inside, the lead robber kept insisting there were other people involved, that he wasn't really the one in charge, that whoever was would be far more dangerous. For a while, the team believed him. It also turned out to be false. That's the lesson Voss carries out of that bank for the rest of his career. A read on a person is a hypothesis, not a fact, until it's actually confirmed. Believe the wrong story, and you end up negotiating with someone who doesn't exist. 5 hours in, with the whole team stuck, the lieutenant in charge made a change and put Voss on the phone instead. By then, investigators had identified the lead robber by voice, a man named Chris Watts. Voss dropped his own voice, deep, slow, deliberate, with a downward inflection at the end of each line. He'd later nickname it the late-night FMDJ voice. It signals calm and control without sounding confrontational. And he used one more tool, almost embarrassingly simple. Take the last 3 words someone just said, or the critical 1 to 3, and hand them straight back, as a question. Then go quiet, for at least 4 seconds. That space tends to get the other person to keep talking. That's mirroring, and it's the first thing Voss wants you to unlearn about negotiating. It was never a contest of logic where the sharpest argument wins. It's an information problem first. You can't out-argue someone whose actual position you don't understand yet. You have to get them talking until you do. Getting someone talking is only step 1. The deeper skill, the one Voss calls the centerpiece of the whole book, is tactical empathy. It doesn't mean agreeing with someone, or liking their position, or pretending their demands make sense. It means understanding what the world looks like from where they're standing, and proving it out loud. That's what labeling does, naming the emotion you're picking up on, without agreeing or disagreeing with it. Once someone feels understood, they tend to get noticeably less defensive, because there's less need to keep fighting just to be heard. Voss takes this a step further with something he calls an accusation audit. If you already know the other side has reasons to distrust you, name the worst version of it yourself before they do. Saying the ugly thing out loud first tends to drain it of its power. Understanding someone isn't surrender, it's leverage. Being understood gets someone to open up, but Voss argues something even more counterintuitive. Don't chase agreement too early. A fast yes is often not real agreement. It's relief from pressure, what Voss calls a counterfeit yes. No, on the other hand, tends to make people feel safer. It protects their sense of control and autonomy, and it's often where a real negotiation actually begins, not where it ends. The clearest example in the whole book isn't a boardroom, it's a jungle. In August of 2000, a Philippine militant group called Abu Sayyaf kidnapped an American named Jeffrey Schilling. Their leader, Abu Sabaya, wanted $10 million, framed as payment for what he called war damages. Months went by, and the officer handling the actual calls, a Filipino negotiator named Benji, was stuck and furious. Furious enough that Voss realized he had to negotiate with Benji first, before Benji could negotiate with anyone else. He named the anger directly. Benji let it out, and afterward, he was a different negotiator. Calmer, sharper, actually able to listen. After 4 months of stalemate, Voss decided what they needed wasn't a better argument. It was 2 specific words from Sabaya, though even Voss didn't yet know exactly what saying them would unlock. Benji went back in. Pauses. mirrors, labels, and finally a full summary of Sabaya's entire worldview, handed back to him almost exactly as Sabaya saw it himself. Sabaya went quiet for almost a minute. Then he said it. "That's right." Not a polite agreement meant to end an argument. Those two words meant he felt accurately understood, completely. In Voss's account, that was the turning point. The $10 million demand disappeared from the conversation. Shilling was later recovered safely. Once someone feels understood, you still need them to move. And here Voss pushes back hard against traditional getting-to-yes thinking. Instead of pushing for agreement directly, he uses calibrated questions, open-ended questions that usually start with how or what. Voss treats why carefully because it can sound accusatory. There's a consultant Voss describes, owed money by a client who still expected her to keep working. Instead of demanding payment or walking away, she asked how she was supposed to keep going under those conditions. The client had to sit with the actual problem instead of repeating the same demand back at her. But a yes is worthless if it can't survive contact with reality. The person across the table might not be the one who can actually deliver it. Someone else may have to approve it or quietly kill it after everyone's shaken hands. Getting a yes isn't the finish line. Knowing exactly how it gets carried out is. Now here's where the book's own title finally earns its meaning. Meeting in the middle feels fair. Both sides gave something up, but Voss argues that a number doesn't carry meaning on its own. Its weight comes from where it's anchored, from what feels like a loss versus a gain, from a deadline, from what each side assumes is fair going in, which means the midpoint between two arbitrary opening positions isn't automatically a good deal. So instead of meeting halfway, Voss teaches something more structured, the Ackerman model. Set your real target privately, open at 65% of it, deliberately low. Then climb in 3 more steps, 85, 95, and finally your full target, with each raise smaller than the last, and empathy and questions doing the work between them, not just numbers changing hands. Land on something specific, not round. Voss tells the story of one of his students, a Georgetown MBA named Mishery, paying $1,850 a month. His renewal offer came in at $2,100 for 10 months, or $2,000 for a full year. Mishery researched comparable rents nearby and set his real target below what he was already paying, $1,830. He began with his research and a calibrated question about the increase. After the agent defended the price, Mishery dropped an extreme anchor, $1,730. Across the next rounds, he moved to $1,790, then $1,810. Before naming his final number, he asked for a pen and paper and worked through some numbers in front of the agent, mostly for show. Then he said it. $1,829. The agent was struck by how precise it sounded. Precise enough that he guessed Mishery must be an accountant. He wasn't. But the number did exactly what Voss says a number like that should do. It read as a carefully calculated limit, not a guess. Mishery didn't just avoid the increase. He walked away paying less than before, and the number only landed because of everything underneath it. The empathy, the questions, the patience to let the other side push back before moving again. Every tool so far assumes you understand what's actually happening. Voss ends the book with a case that undercuts that assumption completely. On June 17, 1981, a man named William Griffin walked into a bank in Rochester, New York, and took 9 employees hostage. His ultimatum was specific. Police had to meet him for a shootout by 3 o'clock, or he'd start killing hostages. Negotiators worked the case the way negotiators normally did, treating it as a problem to be bargained, assuming there was some outcome Griffin actually wanted. When 3 o'clock came and police didn't show, Griffin had a teller walk to the glass doors and shot her. At that point, the model negotiators had been relying on collapsed. Griffin wasn't bargaining for anything. In Voss's reading, what Griffin actually wanted was for the police to kill him, and shortly after, he moved into full view of a police sniper. Voss calls these Black Swans. Unknown unknowns. Pieces of information you don't even know you're missing until they change the entire shape of a negotiation. And the uncomfortable truth is, you can mirror perfectly, label perfectly, ask exactly the right calibrated questions, and structure a flawless Ackerman ladder, and still lose if your whole model of the other person was wrong from the start. The most dangerous thing in any negotiation was never the question you couldn't answer. It's the one you didn't know you needed to ask. What connects a Brooklyn bank vault, a stalled kidnapping negotiation, a rent increase, and a man who wanted to die in Rochester isn't who argued better. It's whether the people in that room actually understood the situation they were in and what happened in the one case where they didn't. That's the real argument underneath all the FBI jargon and the war stories. Negotiation isn't won by having the cleanest argument. It depends on listening, patience, and staying open to the possibility that your picture is wrong. Never split the difference goes a lot further into all of this. The failed negotiations Voss is honest about, the psychology underneath every tactic, and it's genuinely worth a spot on your shelf. So next time you're bracing for a hard conversation, don't just ask what you want to say next. Ask the harder question: what am I still missing? If you want more books broken down like this, hit subscribe.